let's talk about customer service. I had somebody in the comments suggest to mention or to talk about customer service. This is a great topic, so I want to make it short. There is a lot that goes into it, but the key points, basically you need to just build off the key points. So, what is your purpose in your business or in your company? What's the whole purpose and why you're in operations, okay? You need to let your staff know the purpose of their job, why it's so important that they're there, and what their mission is. It's not just clock in and clock out and do a task. They're hired to perform a certain way, to treat your customers a certain way, your guests a certain way. So bringing them on board, you have to make it very clear to them in the beginning the purpose of their role and how it affects the customers and the guests. Okay, so what is your purpose? Do you have a way to strategically track performance? Are there metrics to show them how their performance affects their guests? Share that with them, and it reinforces the behavior. So for example, I'm going to talk about hotel. The front desk, any department will be clearly reflected on reviews. Okay, so reviews is a way where we can kind of see how the property is doing, what guests see and what we can improve on. Reviews are so important, the good and the bad, because you can always reflect on the good. But when you get a bad review, it's not the end of the world. It's just a chance to see what is it that made the guests feel that way. What can we do within our power to make sure they have a better stay? And sometimes you just cannot help. People are people, and people have different opinions, and you can't please everybody, and that is okay. But is there a way that you can track or you can show your workers how their performance and their duties affect your business, affects your bottom line? Have a one-way system of saying things. This is so important because, typically when I would hire employees, you try to hire the right people. It's really hard sometimes when you're coming in from a small town. A lot of your employees are younger generation where they just finished high school, and they're just learning how to actually have work ethics. And some people, have a hard time communicating. Some people might not say the right words. So, and that's okay. We're all in different levels. And so interviewing your potential employees is a way where you can kind of see where do they belong. If they can communicate very well with you and explain, what they did at this job and everything, then they're more likely to do really well with a customer or with a guest when you're not really there. If they have a hard time, you have to work on the basics. So for example, when I hire people at the front, you have to know the common questions your customers ask. And if you know the common questions they ask, you want to make sure you go over with your staff and make sure they know the answer. For example, what's the address? What's the phone number? What's the email? What exits do you take? What's close to your facility? Whatever that can help your customer when they're calling. Another thing is sometimes, guests or customers will always ask questions, and you can never write them all down to prepare your employees. But if there comes to a point where they just don't know what to say, the best thing for them to say is, what, ma'am, I really don't know the answer to that, but let me get someone that can help you. So at least they don't feel like you're saying, well, I don't know, my manager isn't here. That is such a turnoff for your customer because they don't want to hear that. They want to at least know that if you don't have the answer, you're confident and you're still more than happy to help them find the answer. So making sure your employees have a great attitude with customer service. Not every employee or every person you hire is a people person. Not everybody is extrovert. Some of them are introvert, and so some of them belong not dealing with people. They do better in the back, like folding towels or cleaning, throwing the trash. And not because you need to put them over there, but because they're comfortable as a person themselves, that they're okay with that position. You put people where they shine. You don't want to put people where it puts them under pressure and they're not ready for that. It's like a child. You're not going to just throw them in the pool. You're going to gradually baby steps, and that's just how it is with people. Sometimes you just have to see where they're good at, put them in there, and if they have potential, then you can always bring them up to a level of potential. That's what typically I do within my workplace. I've hired people in the past where they were in housekeeping, and just seeing them work, you're like, wow, they're really good at bringing a towel to a guest and smiling and laughing, actually having a conversation. I'm like, you know what, you really need to be up in the front desk, because that is just wow. Some people don't really talk very much and they just like to do their job. Okay, well, let's go to housekeeping. They feel good too because they feel comfortable in the workplace. They don't feel pressure. You want to put your people where they shine and they're not under pressure in like trying to be something they're not. But if your employee would like to grow, then yes, they will be under pressure as you continue to build them up. Not everybody wants to grow. Some people like to be where they're at. Features of habit. So it's understanding your team in the workplace for customer service. So you have to kind of step back and look at your place as a regular person, and not as the manager, not as the owner, but as just a regular person. Do you see anything that doesn't really is not pleasing to your eye? You want to work on that, because that already is affecting your customer or your guests before they even walk in. When they come in, are they being greeted? Hi, how are you doing? Not like they come in and they're like, hello. That is not a good impression, and they're not going to be feeling comfortable about doing business with you. Another thing is always making sure that they come in and they leave. You say hi and a bye. That's how I train my property. You say hi and bye all the time with a smile. Now I understand we all have bad days, and we all have problems in the home, or we got something going on. That's totally understandable. So so I teach my people to please leave it outside the door. You come in, you make the best of it, because you're affecting other people too. You got, if there's some problems with my staff, or they have a hard time, we talk privately and I try to suggest what I think would be good in their situation. But customer service is a lot of things that come together. You have to have, it's like preparing a delicious meal. You have to have every certain ingredient to actually make what you want. And if you have something missing, it's just not to its best. So again, I'll recap as best I can, because I can talk for a very long time about it. Is what's your mission in your business? What is the purpose? Your customers, your guests are the reason why you're in business. You have to acknowledge them. You have to thank them for their business. You have to make sure that there is a problem or an issue, that you listen to it. And that's another thing about understanding the basic way of saying things. Sometimes if there's an issue or a problem with something, sometimes the employee don't know how to handle that. They didn't really deal with conflict, especially if they're just coming into the workforce, graduating from high school. They don't know how to go about that. So within your business, kind of think about every bad thing that's happened, literally, what has happened to your customer, or to your guest, or to your store, and go over with them and say, hey, if this happens, if this happens, say this. But when in doubt, when they just don't know what to say, I always tell my people, just say, I apologize deeply for that. Give me one moment. Then I have them walk in the back, give me a call and say, hey, Crystal, this and this and this and this happened. I don't know what to do. I say, you know what, just tell them this. And if that's okay, then we're good. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Or just tell them this. And if they're really upset, just tell them to take a seat and I'll be there. Because I'm also managing the place where I operate. I manage, so I also have an assistant. So if I'm not there, My assistant is there to make sure that we take care of our customer. You always want to make sure you try to fix any issues before your customer leaves the store. Sometimes you can't, especially like, for example, hotel. You can't be there at 5 o'clock in the morning if a guest is throwing the key card on the desk and saying, I'm out of here, like they weren't happy. There's just no way. But it's important to figure out what happened with that guest. Calling them, sometimes they just had a bad morning, nothing to do with the hotel. They're just venting out. So customer service, what's your mission? Having a one way of saying things in your property or at your workplace so that your guests feel, or your customers feel, like y'all know what you're talking about. And then things not to say, which I have it listed. I don't know. That's not my job. Do you mind holding? Do you mind holding when you're on the phone? Of course, your guest or customer doesn't mind holding. Sometimes they do, but just say hold please and just put them on hold. And I think that's just a better way, because really no one really wants to be on hold. No one does. So just don't ask, just give a command. Put them on hold. We can't do that. That's all we have to offer. So we can always do something. If there's something in my property or amenity that I don't have in the present time, I don't say no. I say, you know what, let me see what I can do for you. I'm sure we can create something spectacular, So then we have about a weekend to work on creating this atmosphere they wanted. If they wanted balloons, if they wanted flowers, whatever. Not say, oh, well, we don't do that. Total turn off. There's always opportunity to just make your guest or customer feel like, wow, I really called the right place. That's not my job. That does not belong in the vocabulary of my workplace. I don't want to hear that's not my job from anybody. And I tell them that you will do whatever it takes to get the job done, no matter what department you're in. If front desk is in front desk or housekeeping is in housekeeping, and let's say, my breakfast attendant finished, and I say, hey, another member tells them, hey, can you take towels to the second floor? I don't want to hear her say that's not my job. Just go and do it. Right now, sometimes if this is a totally different discussion, what I'm about to mention. But sometimes when you feel like your team is kind of telling other employees what to do, they can sometimes feel a little threatened. And it just, again, it depends on your team. The vibe in it is all your members of your team working well together? Do they have a culture of working together, doing whatever it takes? Having a culture within your workplace, have them all understand that we have a can-do attitude and we do whatever it takes when you hire them, and the purpose of their mission and the reason why they're there, they all have the same platform of what is expected of them and how they should treat each other with respect. When that is there, then you can start working on the one way of saying things and working on all the other things. Typically, I've seen when I walked into some businesses, it's just like, wow, does the manager not care about the service in here? It is horrible. And some people just don't see it because they just didn't think about that. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's just beyond me sometimes. And there's nothing you can do to help another business unless they want help. But I've seen it out there. So I would suggest just go about your property, your facility, and just look at it and just observe. Just walk around, just observe people, observe your employees with your customers. Are they smiling? Are they look frustrated? Does your employee even care? Are they texting when the customer's telling them something? Like, there is so much to it in customer service, but the basic is the mission again, how they affect your customers, the bottom line of it, having a one way of saying things, the 5 things not to say, and their attitude about everything. Just smile. And I think just working on those will definitely help any business. And let me know what you think, if you liked the material I went over, and more will be coming soon.